As a hooper, you can find ways to get around not being the most athletic or even the most skilled with the ball if you read the game a step or two ahead of everyone else. Basketball is a super fast-paced game, and I know a ton of players who have all the tools, but just can't really read the game well enough to put them to use. Then I know other players who seem to just slow the game down in their mind, make the right reads over and over again, and as a result, perform better. So I'm going to give you guys 7 reads in this video that are pretty advanced, so they'll definitely separate you as a hooper, but necessary for you if you want to keep working up the ranks or just be the best on any given court. Now, I know I'm going to get a lot of questions about how you can train these alone, which is a very valid question, but I'll be honest and say this. It's great to understand these by watching film like this, but without getting live experience either playing 3s, 5s, or small-sided games and looking for these over and over, it's never going to transfer to a game. So try to find this here and there, try to find live play, and then just go out and experiment with these. Alright, let's dive in. So first is a pick and roll read that separates good pick and roll players from great ones, and it's reading this tag defender right here. When you come off a ball screen and this big man rolls, it's usually a pretty damn good option to just hit him on a pocket pass or over the top lob or oop. This will usually mean an easy bucket. But because of this defender will usually shift over from their man a bit to get in front, or at least make you think about this pass, which oftentimes leaves this player open on the weak side. So this is the read you're making. Do you hit the big, or do you make this hook or skip pass over to the corner? Obviously there are plenty of options here coming off the pick and roll, but this is probably the one you see most often if you start looking for it. So this takes looking past the initial layer of defense and into the second layer. This initial defender right here will become just an instinctual read. You're not too worried about them. You're just monitoring this player's position and momentum to see if they leave this weak side teammate open. Mind you, this takes patience for it to open up, so if you come speeding off of that ball screen, you'll never really get this option. And once you get really good at this, then it's about using eyes and fakes to manipulate this defender like right here. Next is a slip screen, which is so easy, but I see so many times during every game where players miss it. So here's the rundown. When you're going to set a screen off ball and either the defenders lazily switch like this, they both jump out at your teammate who's coming off the screen, or if they don't switch with inside position like you see here, there's a very good chance you have a little lane to slip to the rim or into space. Of course, the better player that you're screening for, the better this works, but you'd be surprised at how often this gets you open. You should at least get a couple easy buckets per game off of this if you're really diligent with it. Next is looking over the cut. So when you see a teammate cut, this is a relatively easy read. Are they open or not? Now, if you can't hit them here because they're not open or because you didn't have a window to get it there, most players just give up on it. Now, the next level read is looking over the cut, because here's the thing. Most times, if a player gets even slightly open on a cut, another defender will see this and step in to help compensate, and as soon as that happens, skip passes very often open up for easy shots, or worst case, a nice closeout situation. So if you ever see a teammate cut and don't or can't hit them, look over it. There may be a teammate waiting there open, and many times they don't even know it. Next one is a ghost screen, which is almost a cheat code when you need quick offense. Here's how it works. So most of the time, guard-to-guard screens are kind of because they just switch and you didn't do much. So what ghosting is coming up to set a screen, even as a guard, and then before you even set that screen, sprinting or backpedaling out to space. Usually these defenders are still communicating or just aren't in position to switch since you go early, so this leaves one of them eventually chasing. Sometimes you'll see both defenders go with the ball handler. Sometimes you'll see them switch, but it's way too late. And this almost always creates some type of advantage. So the read here is 1, when to set it, which is usually when you need a quick bucket, you have a guard-to-guard situation, and or your momentum is taking you towards the ball handler. And 2 is how to play off of it. As the ball handler here, most times the shooter will be wide open, but other times this will give you a little lane to attack off the dribble because of the miscommunication. And as the ghoster, it's about finding space that's not too far from or too close to the ball handler and then playing off of that. The next read sounds so simple, but it's deciding between a backdoor and a face cut. I'll say this first, I absolutely love backdoor cuts, but I do think players try to force it sometimes when a face cut in front of the defender is usually actually preferred. It makes for a much easier pass because, well, there's not a defender in between you and your teammate trying to desperately steal the ball. So this read is all about keeping track of position and momentum. So first off, and quite obviously, monitor for the times where the defender has fallen asleep watching the ball. Then cut. Mind you, sometimes it's not about being sneaky and going behind the defender's back, but just getting to a better space to operate by face cutting like you see DiVincenzo do here. But also monitor for these times where they're on the ball, but slightly behind you and not in a very ready position to defend a cut like you're seeing on all of these. I think you'd be surprised at how much you can cut right in front of your defender's face, even if they're right there next to you, especially if you can get even just a bit of momentum beforehand or be physical and smart with the angle you take. It's easy buckets. Or in terms of a backdoor, if this defender's selling out to deny you the ball or breaks on an attempt for you to get towards the ball, then it's a backdoor. And sometimes you don't even need to try. The chance is already there. It's just about being ready for it. And then lastly, it's about timing. If you go too early before your teammate's even looking, well, you can't expect them to hit you. So it's about waiting till the perfect time, maybe lulling your defender to sleep even more, and then breaking right as your teammate's ready to dime it. And the last two are defensive reads, with the first one being a peel switch. This is one of my favorites for sure. So let's say you get blown by. It happens. If you're a high IQ player, you yell peel, or to a defender who doesn't know, maybe take mine. And what follows is simple. You go to theirs, they go to yours, and like you see here, this cuts off any advantage they may have other than a momentum advantage, and honestly baits them into turning it over very often. From the ball handler's perspective, he's like, oh nice, easy dime to the corner. But if you peel diligently, you'll get this steal or at least make the pass tough almost every time. It just takes recognizing this early and then getting out there quickly. And lastly is an X out, which is another defensive tactic to stop advantages. If you're off ball and one of your teammates gets beat, this defender will probably have to help. So now you have defenders playing in between two. Sometimes this will be you, sometimes this will. Regardless, what has to happen now is that even though this isn't his man, he goes to stop this and close out as quickly as possible on the ball. Then the deeper defender takes their man who is now open. This is why it's called an X out. It literally makes an X as the defenders are crossing to close out. And if you see this quickly and send that defender with better position and momentum while covering up the next pass, it not only prevents wide open shots, but completely stops advantages at time. That's huge. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I think this will really take your IQ to the next level, your decision making to the next level. As always, appreciate you guys for tuning in. Until next time.